I'd like to request Mr. Nandivardhan Jain to speak on what the private enterprises are facing and what they need to do and what they can do at this point of time to sort of reopen in the face of the pandemic.
Thank you, Malini. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Before coming to the private enterprises, I think a couple of subjects which I want to touch on the policy making side, which is very crucial and important at this point of time. I said whatever the problems we are currently facing due to the pandemic, that's there, very much there. There's no denial to this. But at the same time, it's a great opportunity to develop domestic tourism within our country, within our state as well. Now, the whole question is how we have to do it. What is required to do it? Now, it largely depends upon the policy making. What type of policies are the governments can plan? Both the honorable ministers mentioned very valid, points, and really appreciate some of the initiatives they're already taking, and it's already they have done walk the talk also to some extent. But at the same time, when we come to the policy making, for example, we heard about the minister mentioned about the RoRo. Now that is about the infrastructure initiative. One such infrastructure initiative, the impact is this. Now my office is sitting on 3 different feasibility reports, which are looking for the development of the asset in that particular micro market in spite of the current situation in the market, because these all are long-term perspective decisions. These are not from the keeping in mind 6 months or 12 months or 18 months. So infrastructure and the connectivity is the key to develop the domestic tourist circuits within our state, because outbound tourism for next 2 years looks very difficult. So people need recreation. They're gonna make sure they have enough good options, and that's what the opportunity the private enterprises and the government has to develop this infrastructure. Second, on the policy side, I think the immediately requirement is that government should think of doing the decentralization from the tourism development board's point of view. For example, if we spoke about Alibag and Murunj and Jira, they need to be a separate tourism development board for specific to those micro markets, or for the Konkan belt, or for the coastal lines, or for the wildlife, who are just promoting that particular circuits, if I say so. Now, what that departments need to do at the same time is they need to have a direct targets from the Ministry of Tourism, and with the clear guidelines, what is the expectation in terms of footfalls, in terms of the infrastructure which need to be created, tourist information centers, and above all, the content need to be created, which need to be further marketed at the right digital platform. We are the young India, young Indian is ready to travel, they believe in spending. So these initiatives are very important at the same time. Now, these departments need to be led by the technocrats with the complete accountability. If we actually, even I will say that the government decide to pilot it also, with the 2 or 3 such initiatives, I'm very sure they're gonna see a good response. This has been successfully done by Turkey and Thailand, where this has worked. So at the same time, it's a high time. I think it's an opportunity where the government need to seriously think about this and need to implement as soon as we can towards this direction. Other thing, when it comes to the development of the, some offbeat destinations, or our ancestors have created some really marvel of architecture, monuments, which are right now not being taken care well at this point of time, and are not even some of the, those great assets we are not even aware as a consumer. We need to look back to that. We need to lease out those facilities. Why I'm saying so, I'll give you a small example. In a country like Cambodia, okay, there's a temple facility with the name of Angkor Wat. In 1993, the visitors to that temple was 7,650 in an entire year, which is less than 650 people a day on an average. They leased out that facility to a private enterprise, okay, the large conglomerate of that particular country. They restored the infrastructure, they created the common infrastructure. Within less than 10 years, the numbers reached to 0.5 million, more than 0.5 million. In 2012, the visitors for that particular facility, 2 million. 2012, 2.6 million. Today, the ticket collection of that particular temple is more than 50 million USD. Okay, just imagine what type of prosperity that one temple, that monument has brought to the entire, micro market for that particular city, in terms of the restaurant businesses, in terms of the tour operators, in terms of the cab business, local retails, and the hotels, lodging, and whatever investment would have been came to that. I'm not saying that leasing is just the complete solution of the these type of architecture monuments. I'm saying this is one of the solution, and the other initiatives are required, but the privatization is the key for going forward. Now, if we do something similar for our Maharashtra state, there's a lot of forts available. There's a lot of architecture monuments available. In that, whatever the collection is coming, 28% of that goes toward the restoration or the upkeep of that asset, for the development of that asset. So these are the some critical, policy making decisions that the government has to take. And if the right policies are well implemented with the right, infrastructure and the intents at the top and at all levels of the government, I'm sure the results will be in a favorable manner. We have enough in our country from the tourism perspective, from the culture, architecture, and the other local cuisines and multiple other things are available, ingredients available in the country to give a good boost to this sector, which is going to have a direct impact on the employment opportunities which will be created. And that's how the entire society, to large extent, going to get well benefited. I think it's a decision that the government has to take. And if this is well implemented, this can really go in a long way. And after that, the most important thing is that it's a time to reassure your traveler that you are going to be safe if you're going to stay in my asset, which has to be done in collaboration in the private stakeholders, which is largely the hotel owners, okay, and in collaboration with the government. Together, a strong campaign and the message need to be delivered to the potential traveler that you're going to be safe. Now, that's from the policy making side. Now, coming on to the hotel owners' perspective or the people who have invested largely in this infrastructure, just to give you a basics on that, hospitality asset class, when you invest, these are high capex businesses. These are, you make investment by keeping a perspective at least for almost a decade. The gestation period of the hospitality asset class is 7 to 8 years. And considering other problems of the debt possibility, approvals, and I'm not getting into that because that's not the topic today, but those are multiple other issues in this industry, what we are facing on a day-to-day basis. The most important right now is that what KV Kamath report came. Okay, they have clearly identified hospitality sector as a sector which required immediate relief. If that recommendation got implemented at a banking level, then yes, there will be a certain level of relief to the hotel owners, and which is much required on an immediate basis. You know, we are already on the ventilator, and being very honest and candid, most of the assets are right now not operational to their full efficiencies, and there's a lot of challenges. And this gonna take some time to, improve the occupancy and ARRs. For those couple of years, government need to support the hotel owners on multiple fronts, whether it's a state government tax collections side or it's a central government tax collection side, that require the immediate support on that front. Now, this all can be worked upon if all the stakeholders work in the right direction towards making this happen with the right intent. And on the last side, the assets which are independent hotels and the hotels which, in the segment of 50 to 60 rooms or 70 rooms, which is I will say 88% of the inventory across the country. Okay, 84% inventory across the country. Okay, that inventory is an opportunity to migrate the unorganized standalone hotels to organized formats. What's going to happen with that? You're going to have a better product, because the asset required certain upkeep and certain standards to be made from the brand specs if they get into tab with the brand. Okay, the second most important thing, the consumer going to have a better experience. Consumer will be in a position to pay better for that quality and the service. Eventually, in a long term, government going to collect the better taxes out of that property, and it's going to be benefit to the entire neighborhood of that locality if the asset further improves in terms of the upkeeps and all that. So if we keep all these things well on record, if we move toward that direction, hopefully once this pandemic things cools down, we have a brighter future ahead for our country and for our state. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jain. I'm going to interject and ask you a question here. Do you think that the time is right to open up right now, given that we are still in the midst of it, and quite rightly the governments are very worried about an escalation in number of cases, healthcare, putting in pressure on healthcare infrastructure that will again lead to pulling back. What is your view on that?
So Marley, we started with this. We're starting experiencing COVID realities sometime last week of March or mid-March, I will say. Okay. Now we are sitting in the month of September. September is going to end in another 5-6 days. So I think to large extent, we all have learned what is COVID. What are the precautions which we need to take in terms of masks, basic hygiene points which need to be well taken care of, and what all need to be taken care of, and if there is a symptoms, what you need to do also. Okay, and hopefully in next 3 to 4 months we might get a vaccine also. But there is some basic level of medication is also now doctors are recommending and giving also to some extent. And yes, there are few unfortunate incidents where things went wrong also, but to a large extent people know that they need to take care of immunity. They make sure that you eat at hygiene point and all that. For how long we can put our country on standstill? Think about it. What about that employee of your and my office who is at a salary of 20, 25,000? How are you going to run the kitchen? Who is supporting him? These are very valid and big questions. No one is answering, to be very honest with you. There are millions of people who are sitting at home, can't support their kitchen today. Nation can't run like that. The concern of the honorable ministers are very valid. I respect what he's saying. 6 months are enough to teach your population what you need to do and what is important for you. Eventually, today, you know the situation of the buses in our city, overcrowded. They're as obviously the infection is spreading. There's no option that I cannot board a train. That I have to take. People have started moving to the work. Situation is, gonna ease further if we actually start all the travel lines, train lines, I mean to say. So this is very important that we need to open the country. Okay, precautions are required. We need to be, the authorities need to be vigilant if someone is not wearing a mask. That's what a lot of Middle East Arab countries are doing. In Dubai, if you are not wearing masks on the public places, they fine you immediately. They have strict action they're gonna take. We need to do all that. But putting everything on a hold or closing down, it's not the, I will say, the best solution available in the current circumstances. The government have felt valid concern. We need to handle that. We need to take care of that. But otherwise, if this situation sustains for another 6 to 8 months, 9 months, probably we're going to face much bigger problems than what we are facing right now. I don't want to use the words which coming to my mind, but I really don't see a great, bright light if we continue the same way. We need to open the country, and that's the only way to move forward.
Right. Thank you so much.